Yo, what's up guys? You got PokeaimMD here with a game from the Ubers Open. We have Pohjis versus the Trap God. Now Pohjis is really good at a whole bunch of different tiers. And the Trap God is just super good at Ubers as well. This is round 7 of the Ubers Open. Now it's live kind of, but I'm a little bit late. In fact, they already played game 1. So what I plan on doing is going through game 2 again, and then we'll go through game 1. And from there I'll have another upload as well later today. But yeah, so just looking at team preview, Pohjis has neither Kyogre or Groudon, so Trap God's Kyogre is going to be ridiculous versus him. Pohjis' build consisting of Toxapex and Gothitelle plus Zygarde is really good versus balanced builds or fatter builds of Ubers. But in my opinion, versus the Trap God's build where he has just a bunch of offensive mons, like E-Killer for example, it could be Setup Necrozma, maybe Spadef SD Necrozma, Mix Kyogre, like Scarf Zern, Dragon Dance Salamence, things like that. Like I think it's going to be an uphill battle for Pohjis from here. So let's get into it. So first we're going to see Kyogre versus Arceus Dark. This is actually good that it's Arceus Dark in this game, as if it has Toxic or Will-O-Wisp, it'll be able to catch Xerneas. If it has Will-O-Wisp, Kyogre doesn't necessarily want to stay in. Doesn't have to be the Stealth Rocker because he does have, the Necrozma does main. But again, let's keep going. Trap God obviously should fear Will-O-Wisp in my opinion. That's definitely something he could fear. And Pohjis could fear obviously Water Spout and go Toxapex. So we might see a double switch on both parts. So Kyogre does switch out, fearing Wisp, smart play, as Pohjis ends up staying in and going right for Judgment. I can agree with that too because it would weaken the Water Spout, which is a mon you don't switch out into. So brings in Toxapex on Xerneas, as Xerneas throws off a safe Moonblast. Is that Specs damage? 32%, my good. That might be Specs Xerneas. But this is a good opportunity to get in Groudon. It avoids pretty much whatever Toxapex wants to go for that's not toxic. Though he doesn't have a reason not to throw off a toxic since Necrozma Dust Main isn't the biggest of problems. Throws up a T-Spike though, as he's going to go Zygarde. Very good switching into that mon as Groudon's going to get up his rocks. And I'm assuming the only reason Groudon stayed in here is because it's a really defensive set. As you can see by 1,000 arrows, there's absolutely nothing. It might be a sub DD. Although Trap God, I think they're on turn 30, and Trap God might be timing out real soon. So we're trying to go through this as much as possible. But I think what Trap God's goal was to honestly just weaken Zygarde. Once Zygarde takes one hit and with rocks are up, and SD Necrozma can just win. So Curse's Blaze unfortunately misses, as he is going to switch out and go Salamence. Makes sense. Has Intimidate, doesn't really care. Might have Refresh for Galera as well, as he throws off another 1,000 arrows. That actually looks really offensive. And we are going to see the Salamence, the Zygarde pull back as he goes for the Dragon Dance right here. So it's no Dragon Tail, no Glare, anything. Brings out Arceus Dark. Now, the best thing Arceus Dark can do, if it's not running Willow, is it could be a Surprise Ice Beam. I've actually seen Surprise Ice Beam a few times. Sorry to pause it, by the way. I know it's kind of live, but it's not, and I want to go through it. So, Trap God pulls back out on Xerneas. Maybe that's just Scarf Xerneas, because that did, I don't know if 32 is, that's really impressive damage to Toxapex, honestly. But he fears probably Ice Beam, Will-O-Wisp, scouts for it, as he brings out Xerneas right here, as Pohjis does reroll the Ice Beam. So really good scout for him. It wasn't worth going for the 70% with Double Edge to not knock him out to go down. So Xerneas actually throws off a Geomancy, so I'm surprised it's actually not Specs. I guess Toxapex just takes that much. As he's going to throw off a Moonblast. That is fully Spadef Necrozma, and he's going to throw off the Sunsteel Strike and knock him out. Still, this is really good for Trap God. While it looks like he's not in the best situation, Kyogre can easily come out now. So that damage was really important for Kyogre. I understand that. That's also important for a Dragon and Salamence later for like +1 Double Edge. So I'm assuming, okay, brings out Groudon here. That T-Spike is really playing a role. Surprises how much it's doing versus him, considering he hasn't opted to defog them. I would think that it'd be Dragon Dance, defog, Salamence, especially because it's not Scarf Xerneas. But another Precipice Blade on the Arceus Dark coming in. Because the Arceus Dark revealed Judgment, Recover, and Ice Beam, it's more than likely not Refresh, obviously. So this is a really good situation for Trap God, kind of, because it does allow him to his Kyogre. So if Kyogre, don't be spoiling to me who won just yet. Don't be GGing in the chat right there. So he fears the potential Water Spout. Goes to Gothitelle. Gothitelle was really useless in this game anyway. It actually traps nothing. Gets to a KO. It's actually really smart too, in general, that he went there, because now he knows that Arceus can actually just recover stall this Kyogre and even get it for a defog. I agree with that defog 100%, though that Arceus might become a problem with it. We'll see though. So Arceus is going to go for the recover right here, as it can stall out liquidations decides a defense drop. All he needs is one more turn on poison in order to get him down, and obviously Trap God's going for the defense drop, or just to keep him low for Salamence, which is pretty important, though Arceus is probably running max speed, as he is in range of Judgment right there, probably not wanting to risk a crit, as he is going to reveal the E-Killer, and this is where it gets a little bit scary, because Fizz Up Toxapex doesn't actually take +2 Life Orb EQ, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, though. Could be wrong. The best thing he could do is Haze or Toxic. Oh, it actually does manage to tank because it's not Life Orb. Yeah, it did not take +2 Life Orb EQ at all. Manages to tank, but all Arceus has to do is SD up alongside as he ends up going for a T-Spike there. I guess trying to catch the Arceus if he ends up forcing it out. Maybe if he does have Dragon Tail and Zygarde after all. So Zygarde's going to come out. Now Arceus can definitely have Sub to avoid its attack. Throws off an Extreme Speed, which is absolutely nothing, and there is the Dragon Tail. So, and the reason Pohjis didn't want to go for it earlier versus Zygarde is because versus Salamence, like earlier, is because Zygarde was really pressured before for the Arceus and for Necrozma, depending on the set. Of course, Necrozma can still win. Him defogging away rocks is really good because Groudon's going to have a hard time getting them up versus literally everything on his team. It kind of dies to everything at this point. So Salamence Roost as Pohjis decides to throw off a Coil. This is a good play too, meaning he won't miss Dragon Tail, and if Salamence opts to go for the Double Edge, he'll put him in Father form. So all he has to do is just safely spam Dragon Tail now. Brings in Arceus, and this is good too because if it was sub SD Arceus, which it wasn't because obviously he didn't go for it, he'd be able to break the sub now. But it's looking like Pohjis is going to be able to win with just this. And another Coil is a really smart play too because you're going to be able to break through Necrozma. If he extreme speeds you, you're not even in Father form, which is crazy. And plus your Dragon Tail is just doing so much. So this is great. Basically, if Salamence ever attacks him, he's in a good situation. So I can't see the Trap God pulling back from this and throws off 1,000 arrows on the Arceus. It literally has to be special Ultra Necrozma. Groudon comes out. I doubt it's HP Ice, and Zygarde's going to be able to outspeed it and knock it out. I think it's game. There's no way it's special Ultra Necrozma. This team is way too weak to Xerneas for this to be anything besides like Spadef SD, in my opinion. Yep, no weakness policy, no nothing. Pohjis easily eats up the Z move right here. Maybe this, but it could just be regular SD Morning Sun. Either way, Zygarde's going to eat that, and it's going to be able to knock him out, and then it's going to become Father form, which means that Salamence can never beat it. So Pohjis actually ended up taking up a matchup that, in my opinion, was more so in the Trap God's favor. I just think the T-Spike was too much, so really nice build on Pohjis' part. And that means we're actually going to a Game 3, because I don't want to spoil, but obviously the Trap God won Game 1, so I'm going to skip through. Yeah, it's over. So let's go to Game 3 and try and catch it as live as we can. Is it here? Is it here? They haven't started yet. That's awesome. That's awesome, though. I get to catch it live. So great. So I do want to go through this game. However, I don't want to take away from Game 3. Again, I'm really hyped for Game 3. Yeah, I really want to show you guys a game 3. So before I go to Game 1, but if they haven't started, I guess we'll talk about the team preview real quick. So real quick, this is a really offensive team by Trap God's build. Probably taunt Yveltal to prevent default. Stealth Rock Eruption, Groudon is something I would be on this type of build. Maybe Rock Tomb as well. Stealth Rock Tomb SD. Precipice Blades, Taunt Gar, Sub, Dragon Dance Zygarde because you're running T-Spikes with Cloyster. Just making sure Game 3 doesn't happen. Good. And also potentially could be E-Killer. Combine Arceus Fairy doesn't make a lot of sense. No, I think it's E-Killer on this type of build because it's just straight up offense. Whereas Pohjis' game plan, he has a bunch of defoggers. These all defog. The Xerneas, Salamence, and Lunala, and then Arceus defogs as well. Just making sure we're not missing it because I just don't want us to miss the game live. But yeah, so I think T-Spike is going to be really annoying. I think Xerneas is the most likely defogger on Pohjis' team. Really similar build that he has here to the last build that went around. But we're probably going to see a closer build on Trap God's side. Pohjis' way of winning this game, it's actually going to be really tough with T-Spike up because Zygarde is a huge problem under sub. Zygarde is a huge problem under sub. And Gengar as well is ridiculous with Hex spamming versus him. So, yeah, you know what? Let me pull this open in another tab just so I can see if the battle goes on and I don't have to keep flipping back and forth. My bad, guys. Where's Game 3? The man said it started. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so we see Cloyster versus Lunala lead. That's a great lead too because Lunala doesn't care. It could actually go for Calm Mind if it wants to, or just throw off a Moongeist Beam, assuming it's Specs. I think it's Specs. I don't think Scarf Lunala is that good right now, so I doubt it's Scarf. It's either Specs or Calm Mind Z. So we throw off a Moongeist Beam. Cloyster has two roles you can do here. You can either T-Spike first or Shell Smash to go for High School Spirit to get some damage. So gets up his T-Spike, gonna save Cloyster, which is nice because it can always Rapid Spin later. It can also go for High School Spirit if it wants to threaten something like Salamence as he brings in a Veltal. Life over Veltal is going to hurt. It doesn't matter what comes in. Look how much Mens took from that. That's not even Life Orb, right? That wasn't even Life Orb. But it's able to get rid of Salamence in the combination of Oblivion Wing plus Dark Pulse as Xerneas is going to come out. Now Xerneas is definitely a problem to this build. In fact, it might actually be Arceus Poison now that I'm thinking about it because he is so weak to Xerneas too. So Xerneas is going to go right for the Moonblast as it ends up being Roselli Berry. That is fire. And going for Toxic, that is so cool because that stops something from being basically something that can actually just straight up sweep Trap God into some more favorable position. So that's really, really, really cool. So it brings out Groudon here on the incoming Moonblast. That does nothing. More than likely Scarf Xerneas if it's not any type of setup. And that probably Specs or Z and Nala. You can throw off a Precious Blade. This is also really important because you do break its Shadow Shield and it allows him to sack Cloyster on the potential Z move or Moongeist Beam. So really, really, really cool prep on Trap God's part. Especially because it gives him a Veltal, which is naturally faster than Lunala. But turns out this Lunala is running a very speedy set and has the Moonblast, so really, really cool. I get why you want to go with Veltal because it actually threatens everything immediately. The next game actually just started too, so we'll go right back to this game after we do this game. So I don't know, I kind of want to go from the offensive side because we're just doing a Cloyster one. I'm not rooting for any in particular. They're both cool people. Really enjoyed the videos you made. Would love to see more. Thank you, man. Okay, let me close this one real quick. So right off the bat, we're seeing like a similar T-Spike build. Could be SZ Arceus Ground on this type of build, though it's really weak to. I actually like Arceus Ground a lot with Tectonic Rage when I'm using T-Spike myself, and I think it's also really good versus the Trap God's team. Trap God looks to be running the exact same team that he ran last game versus Pohjis, or at least the same 6. If it is SD Arceus Ground with sub SD, especially because he has T-Spike, really, really solid versus Trap God, especially because he doesn't have a defogger potentially in Dragon and Salamence again. That's literally his only defogger. It's Geomancy Xerneas. So we see Cloyster versus this lead, and that's actually super good versus his team because he is very, very, very weak to Geomancy Xerneas, excuse me. So we see a Shell Smash. This gives him the opportunity to Shell Smash again. That's literally what you do in this situation. Pohjis cannot go for T-Spike. You don't really go for damage either. You Shell Smash again. That way you guarantee outspeed Xerneas. Yep. And can actually KO it. Now, it depends if he's actually Icicle Spear on this Cloyster too, because some Cloyster variants are not. So I think Pohjis played the lead matchup incredibly well. Let's see if he actually is. Okay, good. So he's Skill Link Icicle Spear. Good. He played the lead matchup incredibly well, in my opinion. While he is going to basically forgo Toxic Spike, which I think would have been really good in the long run, he stopped himself from being just straight up swept. He stopped himself from being just straight up swept by that bond. So I think that was really, 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 really smart on his part. So Marshall is going to come out. It's more than likely, if Pohjis ran the calcs from last time, we can find out if it's So Scarf. It probably is Chopper Berry though. However, if it is like Endeavor Marshadow with Sash, that's something that could be here. We could see him bulking up as well. I think we could definitely see him bulking up as well. Just to not to close combat, because you do want to Regan Arceus, especially because this Salamence can be a problem, or even Xerneas can be a problem. That's his main way of checking it besides his Necrozma Dust main. Groudon isn't the best check, especially because he's Fizz Def Groudon, just based on the last one. So we do see a bulk up on more than likely a Shadow Claw. Yep, and Shadow Claw literally had to crit there in order to KO. So Pohjis might actually go for another bulk up again, risking the crit, because if he doesn't get it, then I believe +2 Marshadow does KO Arceus through Chopper Berry. So that might be his play right now. That might actually be his play. Trap God's probably thinking about whether he wants to stay in and risk Arceus, because I think Arceus is going to be pretty important in him revenge killing Pokemon like Xerneas, since it can actually set up on certain things. Like, for example, in a situation where Kyogre's out versus Xerneas, he goes Groudon to get up the sun, and then he goes back out into Xerneas and does it. So he does risk the Shadow Claw crit. Let's see if he gets it. He does end up getting the Shadow Claw crit, though. That's really, really bad for Pohjis. I actually not sure if he can pull back from this. Even if this is Geomancy Xerneas, which it definitely should be with T-Spike, I think it's going to be really hard for him to pull back now. Because the Trap God goes directly out into Necrozma Dust main here. You don't SD up Arceus alongside. You go directly out to Necrozma Dust main. You throw off your Z move. Nothing to worry about here. So that crit was really big again. Yep, Necrozma Dust main. Easily your best play as he Geomancies. Pohjis has 2 plays. I'm going to pause it real quick before he makes a move. One of them is Thunder, Para, Full Para. That is, I think, one of the biggest plays that can get you out of this situation. The other play is... That's it. I think it's literally Thunder, Para, Full Para, or Crit. Because Moonblast isn't going to do that much. Oh, well, it's offensive. If it's Focus Blast and it's not Spadef Necrozma, which he was set up on, let's see. He does go for the Thunder. He went for the Thunder, Para, Full Para. Did not get it. That was his best play. That was literally his best play right there. Did not get it. Had he gotten it, I think he just straight up won. But Weakening Necrozma is cool for Dragon Dance, Mence, and potentially SD Arceus Ground, which I think it will be on this build. Because typically you'll see double ground, and one of them will be Zygarde, Groudon, or SD Arceus. He could also be E-Killer, and I think an opposing E-Killer is actually really, really threatening for the Trap God as well. Once he Mega Evolves his Salamence, no longer does he have Intimidate to check it, but he has trouble setting up with it before then. Let's see though. I'm not sure how he gets out of this, because you definitely Dragon Dance here. That's it. And I think you go for double DDs versus Mence. Yeah, I think you have to double DD. You won't go down to double edge, and once Mence Mega Evolves, it loses its Intimidate. Oh, but he gets a Revenge crit, and that's so big too. So that's really good for Pohjis. That's like some justice right there. Not really though, because I think that Marshadow would still have been annoying. But that's a big crit, especially because it forces the chip on Groudon for potentially Arceus. And if it is SD. Again, guys, if it is SD Arceus Ground, which I'm thinking it will be, and that's Rock Polish Groudon too. Or just Stealth Rock, actually, 3 attacks with Fire Blast. So I'm pretty sure it is SD Arceus Ground. So SD Arceus Ground might have to dodge a Fire move in order to win this. Because basically, if you dodge a Fire move, you get your +2. You knock out Groudon. You threaten Kyogre with the Z, if you are Z. You obviously knock out that. And then it's just the bluff between Arceus and Kyogre, because Arceus naturally would take a hit from +2 Arceus anyway, as long as he does live it. Of course, if it is E-Killer too, there's still potential for that to win. We haven't seen a Z move, though I'm thinking it was potentially on Marshadow. I think it was on Marshadow. It is SD Arceus Ground. Yep. I think you gotta go for the dodge. I think you 100% have to go for the dodge. So let's see. Because Fire Blast is way too much, I think it puts you in extreme speed range. I feel for Pohjis on the crit. I 100% feel for Pohjis on the crit because I got crit twice through Shadow Claw. But yeah, like I feel that. Let's see if he does go for the miss though. It's getting intense because the miss could literally change the game. He goes for the SD. Yep. Doesn't get the overheat miss. So that means E-Killer will 100%, he'll be 100% in range of E-Killer. It could be SD Recover though. SD Recover could bring it back. Pressure's Blade does damage, but I mean, all his moves can miss. So, like, if it is SD recover, that's another thing. However, they're typically sub SD. And I would think he's sub SD as well because his team has T-Spike with Cloyster. I think it's a wrap, though. I believe the Trap God has it. It should be over. Yeah, there's no way for the Trap God, I think, to choke this either. It has to literally be recover, or basically what happens here is Pohjis knocks him out. Arceus comes out and Extreme Speeds knocks out Arceus Ground. Like that there's no way it doesn't do 23%. And then it has to be Groudon versus the world, and in order for Groudon to win, it has to be Rock Posh, which it's not because it's Stealth Rock. It has to be Rock Posh, but it's not. It's Stealth Rock. And if it's not Rock Posh, what it has to do is it has to crit Pressure's Blades on Arceus, which still wouldn't be enough damage to knock it out, by the way, because it's Arceus. And then it has to be faster than Kyogre and crit that too at Pressure's Blades, and be faster than ooh, hold up. Okay, there's potential here. Okay, it just got interesting. Because if he does, it's literally Liquidation Kyogre. So if Groudon is speedy, and it's a really fast one, which is what speedy implies, yes. If Groudon is speedy, first off, it might even be faster than Arceus if it's just max speed. Let's go for SD. Uh-oh, okay, hold up. Things are getting a little bit juicy here. But he got the 49, which means he gets the 51. Unless in Ubers, the rules don't apply. The rules might not apply because this is Ubers. He's SC Stealth Rock. The rules might not apply though, because like I said, this is Ubers. The 49 doesn't necessarily mean the 51, but then again, it's Arceus. Arceus is about to kill him right now, Earthquake. It's getting interesting. It still has to be, Groudon legitimately has to be faster than Necrozma though, and Kyogre. And Kyogre runs a lot of speed on liquidation sets, like, ooh! He lands and presses his blade. Okay, this is getting close. I'm actually like at the edge of my seat. I'm interested to see how this goes. Is it Ultra? No. Ooh, Groudon's fast! Oh, okay. Hold up. It's Kyogre versus Groudon. Holy crap. It's actually becoming a thing. So he's SD Rocks. Hey, man. But there's a lot that has to happen for Pohjis to win this. First off, he has to be faster. Secondly, he has to connect. I don't think Trap God's running max speed. You're an at a lonely. Oh. So if Pohjis does, yeah, he acknowledges the fact that if Pohjis does connect, he wins. If not, ooh, Pohjis ended up connecting and pulling. Holy crap. Not bad. That was a game. That was definitely a game. So Pohjis ended up winning versus the Trap God. I like how he said sorry for the BS this game when the same thing happened to him. I mean, he's a good player. And that's how he is. So Pohjis ended up winning this game versus Trap God. Let's talk about this game real quick again. That I think the Trap God still has a good shot at winning just because Gengar is so problematic versus Pohjis' team. So again, going back into it. Gengar versus Lunala. We're going to see Groudon come out. More than likely a Hex. Probably spit off Groudon though, so it's not going to take much. Or Groudon in general isn't going to take much unless he's, status. Obviously, like I said, T-Spike would have been good, but he had to do what he had to do. So Dragon Dance is up with Zygarde, which is always going to take an HP Ice from Groudon. And it depends if it's Z Zygarde, which it doesn't look like it is. He does go for the 1,000 Arrows, which doesn't knock him out. However, with the HP buff from Father, he's going to be able to 2-hit KO him. This allows him to potentially bring out Xerneas here, which is Scarf. Yep. Scarf Xerneas is going to be able to revenge kill him. However, this does give him the trap with Gengar. So it's a good trade either way, and potentially E-Killer is looking a little bit problematic. Doesn't get the special drop either, so he's going to go down. Even with the special drop, I'm pretty sure with Poison he would take him out. As Necrozma comes out, and he misses Will-O-Wisp. Oof. The Trap God misses Wisp, but he lands the second one. That's pretty big too, because Hex obviously would have been a problem, but he does land the second one. I don't know, I feel like... Can he win this? Is this one possible? Yeah, that's Ultra Necrozma too. Dragon tells him out. Okay. Lunala's going to come out. It depends on if the Trap God actually is SDE killer. Because if he's SDE killer, I think he wins. Or Arceus Ground, that's a good one too. That's actually a really good one. So Yesti's up, yep. As Pohjis throws off the more guys. So it wasn't Z-Lunala the entire time, and he actually is SD recover. As he's going to throw off a Tinkle Tackle, does absolutely nothing, and this gives him the opportunity to recover again. So that's really, really cool that he's SD recover on this build. I would think he'd be sub because you have T-Spike, but really, really nice. He does throw off another recover, and at this point, if Trap God goes for the Z right here, I'm pretty sure he 2-hit KOs, and that does so much damage. However, he's able to win the next speed type, but it has to depend on if this is actually Ultra Necrozma, which with Photon Geyser, it wasn't Ultra Necrozma. I'm really surprised. Typically, Photon Geyser sets are usually Ultra. But yeah, the Trap God was able to win this one. So, yep, able to win this one with Earthquake. Nice, okay. So that ends the series. This was game 1. We saw Pohjis win game 2, and then we just saw game 3 live. I'm sorry that it wasn't in order, guys. I just really wanted to bring this set because I thought it'd be a good set. I do hope you guys all enjoyed. I tried my best to explain, so hopefully I did some justice to both players. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye, my friends.